The film opens in a distant future, where humans have overpopulated the world and the resources have become rare. The government law has been altered and allowed to eliminate women if they become pregnant. The story is set in Spain and our main protagonists are a couple, Mia and Nico. Nico and Mia are in hiding because Mia is pregnant. They had kept Mia's pregnancy a secret for the past 9 months. Nico and Mia are planning to escape illegally, so Nico pays a man some money to get them out of the country. The man puts them in the resources container so the army won't suspect it contains humans in it. Because they were wiping out people who were crossing borders illegally. Nico and Mia sit in the container truck and find more people like them who are afraid for their lives. Nico encourages Mia to have hope because once they get out of the country, they'll be able to raise their child well. Mia worries that the child inside her has passed away because, for the past few days, she didn't feel any kick inside her belly. Nico worries about the child but still doesn't lose hope. They hear some clatter outside of the container and suddenly their container is opened. Some people rush into the container while the owner of the container forces half of the people to enter another container. During all the commotion, Nico gets separated from Mia. Frightened Mia quickly calls Nico and he guides her to remain in the container. Nico guides her not to trust anyone in the container and he'll come pick her up once she lands at the dockyard. Their call ends and Mia shuts off her phone to preserve its battery. She peeks from the holes in the container and sees only violence. She sees the army beating the poor people everywhere around. Her container truck reaches an army blockade, so the driver shows the papers to the army general to let him pass, but the general is cruel and orders to check out the container. The general inspects the container and finds it empty because the people are hiding in the secret compartment of the truck, behind a door. The general shoots the door to scare the people inside and orders them to come out at once so he won't shoot them, but if they don't, he'll shoot them all. Mia realizes he's lying, so she climbs on a wooden box and hides. A girl opens the compartment door, believing the general, but obviously, he lied and orders his men to shoot them all. Luckily, only Mia manages to survive while hiding. They clear out the bodies and lock the truck. Mia tries to call Nico, but due to bad cell service, the phone doesn't dial. Later, she looks outside of the container and sees she has reached the dockyard. She screams for help inside the container but no one hears her. Afterwards, it gets dark and Mia realizes her container is in the ship now. The ship was traveling at sea during a heavy storm and the ship lost its balance, knocking Mia's container off from the ship into the sea. During the fall, Mia hits her head and faints. She wakes up later and finds the container slowly filling up with water. She looks from the holes and finds herself stuck in a container in the middle of the ocean where no one can see her, hear her, or rescue her. She tries to use her phone but it doesn't work because the screen was all banged up due to the fall. She finds a flip phone in a bag and tries to use it, but that also doesn't work. She starts unpacking the wooden boxes and finds all of them filled with empty tiffin boxes. Meanwhile, Mia peeks from the hole and sees another floating container passing by. She watches it drown while wondering if her husband might be in it. She puts her SIM card in the flip phone to call her husband Nico, but it fails to work. She finds a knife and keeps it in her hand while she cries herself to sleep. While dreaming, she gets a nightmare that the container is full of water and she's drowning. Eventually, she wakes up and finds herself half covered in water. She comes up with a solution and starts closing the container holes with the rubber that is attached inside the lunch boxes to prevent the container from getting filled with water. She attaches a pipe and a lunch box with a hole and pours out the water into the container. Mia knew she was all alone, so she had to protect herself for the baby. She has very little amount of food and supplies which she plans to use for days, in small quantities. Mia hangs the pictures of her husband and her first daughter to give herself hope and power. After a while, she finally gets a call from Nico. She tells him the army shot all the people with her, but she hid and now she's stranded in the container in the middle of the ocean. Nico is shocked but still tells his brave wife to hang in there, he will find her somehow and rescue her. Later, she eats a little bread and drinks some water, which starts to hurt her stomach. Late at night, Mia's stomach starts hurting again and she goes into labor. The ocean faces another storm which constantly shakes the container, so it makes it impossible for Mia to delay her delivery any further and eventually gives birth to a girl. Mia cuts the baby girl's umbilical cord, which makes her cry. Mia names her Nova and tries to breastfeed her, but Nova refuses to drink. In the morning, Mia decides to tear open the container roof by using the drill machine. As soon as she starts drilling, Nova begins to cry. Mia gets frustrated and tries to breastfeed her again, but she still rejects. Mia starts feeling hungry and eats the whole bread and almost finishes her water until she realizes she needs to save it. The next day, Mia started drilling the roof and eventually, The machine stopped working, but Mia had done quite the damage to the roof. Mia now uses the knife to cut the roof but gets tired because the container is very tough. 6 days pass by and Mia is fully out of food and water. At night, she struggles to sleep due to hunger and realizes she has to eat to breastfeed her daughter. She remembers she boxed her daughter's raw umbilical cord and out of desperation, she eats it. Now, Mia's container starts getting pushed by a whale underwater. The container starts getting filled with more water, so Nova starts crying again. Luckily, the whale hears Nova's cry and leaves them alone. Mia was now out of food, out of water, and out of hope. She starts hallucinating and sees her first daughter and her husband encouraging her. Suddenly it starts raining and water pours from the roof. Mia drinks the rainwater and decides to store it in the lunch boxes. After refreshing herself with water, Mia takes off her shirt and uses it to pull apart the container roof properly, and she succeeds. She climbs out of the roof and sees water all around her. She brings out Nova as well and they breathe proper air after a week. She sees tons of fish in the ocean and makes a tool to catch the fish, but it doesn't work. Soon, she sees a plane flying by and rushes inside the container. She breaks the TV screen and uses its mirror to reflect the sunlight towards the plane to send a signal for her rescue. Her plan fails, the plane flies away, but she mistakenly cuts her foot. With no medical equipment around, she uses the TV wires to stitch herself. She feels tremendous pain but endures it for her daughter. After a while, she finds a bunch of earphones and makes a net out of it. She uses this net and catches a whole lot of fish. Mia eats the fish and stores them in water-filled containers for future use. At night, Mia shares a story with Nova about Nova's late older sister. Mia tells her that when their government changed the laws on the human population, she and Nico told their older daughter to remain in the house at all costs, but she didn't listen. She got bored one day and left the house. The army got her and they couldn't do anything to protect her. Eventually, Mia's phone gets some signal and she gets a call from Nico. Nico informs her that he cannot rescue her and she's on her own, which shatters Mia's will to live. She questions what happened to him, to which Nico replies that he was hiding in a container that got uncovered. Mia tries to encourage him to hold on because he has a daughter now to fight for. Nico sighs in delight, so Mia puts Nova on the speaker and Nico hears her voice for the first and last time. The hopeless couple expresses their love for the last time and their call disconnects, indicating that Nico passed away. The next morning, Mia makes a small boat for Nova, using a piece from the wooden box and the containers. While making the boat, Mia notices a seagull landing on her container, realizing that some people might be near because seagulls usually live around humans. At night, the container's rubber-covered holes start reopening and flood the entire container with water. Mia puts Nova in the boat but dives back into the container to retrieve a chocolate bar she left in there. She finds the chocolate but her foot gets stuck and gets trapped. Eventually, she frees herself and abandons the container, only to find Nova missing. She screams for Nova until the whale returns and launches water from her head, which startles Nova. Nova starts crying and Mia hears her and comes to the rescue. Mia thanks the whale and floats with Nova until they find any humans. In the morning, Mia uses fish from the containers to draw seagulls around them so people can see them from afar and rescue them. A few moments later, a fisherman arrives with his daughter and granddaughter. They see Nova's boat and rescue her. They find Nova alone in the boat and no one around her, wondering where her mother might be. They see a rope tied to Nova's boat, which was tied to Mia on the other end. They rescue Mia and give her CPR to start her breathing. Mia comes back to her senses and grabs her daughter. The fishing family tells them she's safe and they're heading for the land for help. Mia realizes she survived for 28 days but at the cost of losing everything. She cries with relief because she has gotten a new start and the movie ends here. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe so you can stay updated with our daily movie recaps.